we should start praying in a minute. 2 minutes till. 2 minutes till 6:15. I have Marcy from Marcy here. She and John will light Sean's candles, and she's happy for me. Belting shoes. That's my
But it's like I've always been of the like it's not really black shoes with me, but I wouldn't usually wear a like black belt. But then I
You know what? That maybe it's a funny thing, but that maybe actually has just been
because I don't wear black shoes. Yeah, only my black shoes. Like there's no use for brown shoes. We can talk about that another time. You think so?
She has a great pair of French.
Really?
They're like this kind of very rich, almost like. I'm sure they're fortunate. They're nice. Hey. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This is a season of return. My calendar on my iPhone is programmed to display both the Gregorian calendar and the Hebrew calendar dates side by side. So I kind of woke up and took a sharp breath when I saw the number 1 appear. Not in the month of August, but the month of Elul. Today is the first of the Hebrew month of Elul. It is numerically the 6th month of the year, but what it really is 4 weeks to the day before Rosh Hashanah starts. So 4 weeks, this room will be filled as we welcome a new year and return to Westchester Reformed Temple, return to the common ground of life and celebration, and also the common ground of reflection, all that has happened in the last year, all that we've been through, all that we've lost, all that we've gained. So I wish you a Chodesh Tov, a good month. I'm Rabbi Jonathan Blake. I'm joined on the Bima. Actually, this was kind of like a reunion, a return for Rabbi Sasha Bacon and I. She said to me 2 minutes ago, we haven't been up on this Bima in a long time. And Cantor Amanda Kleiman joins us. Pete Malinberni joins us at the piano. We know that many of you are joining us through the live web stream, and we wish you a Shabbat Shalom as well. And I do see some faces who are returning after a little bit of time away. And we would love for you to find somebody whom you've not yet greeted tonight, even if you have to get out of your seats. Go and wish someone Shabbat Shalom, wish someone a new month that is happy and a new year coming that is healthy. So find someone, wish that person Shabbat Shalom. Preferably someone you don't know. An unmistakable sound summons us to return to the season of awe. That, of course, is the sound of the shofar. Pete came up to me right before the service and says, so let me ask you something. He says, do you have to get your chops in shape? Do you have to practice in order to play shofar? And the answer is yes, and I should have before tonight. So this is going to be one of those moments where I'll ask your forbearance in advance because I'm rusty. And throughout the month of Elul, when I'll be playing the shofar each and every week and teaching the kids in the ECC and the JLL what the shofar sounds like and scaring the living daylights out of the little ones, I'll get better. And then by the time Rosh Hashanah comes around, it'll sound strong. But like many things in life, if we let them go for too long, they wither a bit. So we can flex some new muscles. And same is true for prayer, same is true for our spiritual lives. So we will hear the sound of the shofar in the many variations on the calls of the season. Afterwards, we'll be invited into a traditional psalm in music that is offered throughout the month of Elul. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Only one thing do I ask of God. This is my plea, that I might dwell in the presence of the divine for all of my days. Please rise.
Tikia Shivari Terua Tikia Gedola Yasher Koach. Please join us, page 662, the Psalm of the season, Psalm 27, Achat Sha'alti. Achat Sha'alti bebeit Adonai otai.
לחצות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר
Later this evening, we'll have the pleasure of hearing Shabbat remarks by Marcy Harris, past president of WRT, volunteer leader extraordinaire, both in our sacred community and for the Jewish people beyond this sacred community. And I learned that Marcy and John Harris are celebrating a wedding anniversary tonight, so it seems only fitting that they would stand together to kindle light for Shabbat. Page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. It is not every couple who would agree to spend their anniversary with us here at WRT, let alone offering a Dvar Torah, but this is not an ordinary couple, and we pray that all of the things that have brought light and warmth into your hearts and your homes over the many years that you've been together will continue to glow brightly and shine brightly for others. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. We'll continue on page 130 as we prepare to celebrate a different kind of wedding, the spiritual wedding between the Jewish people and Shabbat as expressed in the beautiful poem Lecha Dodi. Our custom here at WRT is that we don't sing all the verses, so we sing 1 and 2, flip the page, 5 and 9. For the last verse, you'll see me invite you to rise. All who are able may rise. We'll face at that time the entrance to the sanctuary as a way of welcoming the Shabbat bride. 138. 146.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
Page 148, as we enter this new season on our Jewish calendar, we recite together this prayer that gives thanks for changing times and changing seasons. Ma'ariv Aravim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro mariv aravim bechokma poteach she'arim. God of creation, who makes the evening fall, you light into darkness with the setting of the sun. You unfold the heavens with brilliant moon and stars, and wrap our souls with peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro mariv aravim bechokma poteach she'arim. Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Page 154 for the V'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha ve'dibarta bam ve'shivtecha beveitecha uvlechtecha vaderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot ayadecha ve'hayu letotafot beineinecha uchtasam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
As I was thinking about tonight, I kept hearing the word judgment ringing in my head. And that makes sense, right? Because we are thinking of Parshat Shoftim, the Parsha of Judges. And we also find ourselves, as Rabbi Blake said, in the month of Elul, reaching to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, these days of judgment. And this word judgment can have such a heavy weight to it and such an intimidating feeling to it. So I had some inspiration that I wanted to share with all of you from the Michamocha, from this prayer that we're going to be doing next. We start the Michamocha, which is thinking back to a time of freedom, but also fear and doubt, not with a feeling, but with a question. Who is like you, O God, so and so and so? So I wanted to flip the script a little for us tonight, not just for tonight, but for the entire month of Elul, for this time of introspection. Not to judge ourselves or the thoughts that come up, but what if instead we approached these judgments, what we would regularly judge, with curiosity, just as we do with God. Something comes up, who is like you? What is like you? So let's begin this with our journey through the Michamocha together, page 158.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom. Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi ahi tehilatecha. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi ahi tehilatecha. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot, u'mevii geula livnei bneihem, leman shemo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol atah rav lehoshia, morir hatah, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha bal gevurot, umido melech, melech bebit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim bechol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
We take some time to pray silently, beginning some of that internal reflection, either with the meditations of your heart or with the words on the page, traditional on the right, a little more inspired on the left. And when you are ready, you may be seated.
shofar this evening, the sound that is meant to awaken us from the slumber of our complacency, I thought of this beautiful meditation inspired by the words of our morning liturgy that I think are a beautiful meditation for this month of Elul, this month of awakening on our Jewish calendar. Awaken my soul to all its potential, a letter unique in an infinite scroll, both a guest and a gift in this life I am living. May I be for a blessing as I come and I go.
Awaken my soul to all its potential. A letter unique in an infinite scroll. Both a guest and a gift in this life I am living. May I be for a blessing as I come and I go. I come and I go. Awaken my soul to all its potential. A letter unique in an infinite scroll. Both a guest and a gift in this life I am living. May I be for a blessing as I come and I go. I come and I go. May I be for a blessing as I come and I go. I come and I go. I come and I go. I come and I go.
It could rightly be said that there are very few things that count as sacred traditions at WRT other than our commitment to change. There's very little that we do here at WRT the way it's always been done. And I think this is one of the most distinctive and perhaps surprising and beautiful things about the way this congregation has always operated. I've been reflecting a lot on WRT the early days, even though they long predated my arrival in the summer of 2003, on the occasion of the passing of Judy Weinberg, Zichrona Livracha, who was the last of the very first founding members of Westchester Reformed Temple. Her death at the age of 97 in July crowned an incredible life and an incredible legacy of which we're all the beneficiaries. And the founders of WRT, and I'll say more about this on the High Holy Days as we celebrate our 70th year as a congregation, but the founders of WRT were actually already deeply committed to the principle I have identified, one of change, one that Reform Judaism cherishes, not so much to do it the way it's always been done, or to quote Tevye, tradition, but rather that ours is a tradition that embraces modernity and change. And so many of the founders of WRT were committed to the following principle: we will not do it the way our parents or grandparents did it in the old country, even if by the old country they were referring to New York City. What they meant by this was that this congregation would be premised on a kind of radical equality. You couldn't get an aliyah on Yom Kippur morning just by paying a nice donation to the synagogue. You couldn't get a better seat in the sanctuary, and you couldn't get a spot in the parking lot. And that egalitarianism has been, I think, again, one of the defining ethics of WRT. If we have a tradition, that is it. And yet, this congregation does pause each year to recognize one member of the community who has gone above and beyond in the thing that really matters, which is service to the community. And so it's a pleasure, as I have for many years, to invite our congregant, trustee, leader, deeply devoted member of our community, Barry Citron, forward at this time to present the recipient of this year's WRT Brotherhood Award.
The city of Chelm was famous for the delicious wine that was made there. One morning, the royal messenger arrived with an important message from His Majesty the Duke that the Duke was going to visit the city in 10 days. Everyone was excited. Once a year, the Duke would honor one of his cities, and this year it would be Chelm. In order to welcome the Duke, the city decided to build a very big barrel and fill it up with the famous wine of Chelm. Every person was ordered to bring 1 gallon of wine and pour it into the barrel. A beautiful barrel was built, and residents started to bring their wine. The first resident was a lawyer, and as he was about to fill his bottle with wine, he thought to himself, "My, this wine is expensive. It would be foolish to give away so much precious wine. What would happen if I would pour water into the barrel instead of wine? No one would be able to tell the difference. After all, with so many people pouring a full gallon of wine into the barrel, just 1 gallon of water wouldn't make a difference at all." This would not be a tragedy. However, the banker, the doctor, and even the clergy also came up with the same idea, and they also poured water into the barrel. "Why should I bring water? Let everyone else do it." But everyone in Chelm was too selfish and too greedy to bring wine, and they thought they could fool everyone else and bring water. So everyone brought water, and there wasn't a drop of wine in the barrel. The Duke's visit came, and he was excited to see the beautiful barrel and taste the famous wine. The crowd was hushed as the Duke placed his golden cup under the faucet, but instead of delicious wine, it was just plain water. How embarrassing for the city. This story teaches us an important lesson to remember at all times. If there is something good to do, do it yourself. Never say, "Let someone else do it," for it may never be done. The Men of Reformed Judaism's Brotherhood Award is presented to a congregant who volunteers and performs community service at WRT and in the larger community at a level that far exceeds the typical resident. Although administered by the MRJ, the award serves the entire congregation and is awarded to honorees regardless of gender. Our 2023 Brotherhood Award honoree, Marcy Harris, never says, "Let someone else do it." When something needs to be done, she steps up and says, "Hineni, here I am." Marcy grew up in Connecticut and graduated Yale University, where she met her future husband, John. However, they only became a couple at law school at NYU. Marcy and her husband, John, moved to Westchester just before Andrew and later Justin was born. Growing up, synagogue was always important to Marcy. Participating in the ECC and then sharing Shabbat at WRT, Marcy chose to get involved in one committee at a time as she juggled being a working mom and wanting to be part of an interesting, meaningful, and dynamic community at WRT. Marcy told me, "You put smart people together in a room and brainstorm, and you come up with some interesting ideas." She was always willing to try something new, including being on the board, the executive committee, and then president from 2017 to 2021. Outside of WRT, Marcy is proud of the meaningful pro bono work she has done prior to retirement as a partner at Schulte, Roth, and Zabel. Her work for Human Rights First, which is a nonpartisan international legal human rights organization that looks to promote human rights in the U.S. and around the world, and her work related to literacy, where she teaches adults how to read. She is also co-chair of the Eastern Board and on the executive committee of Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. Without letting someone else do it, Marcy, please come up to accept the 2023 WRT MRJ Brotherhood Award. The award states, the Men of Reformed Judaism at WRT Brotherhood Award presented to Marcy R. Harris for devoted service to Temple Judaism and the community, 2023.
Thank you. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Barry, and to the Men of Reformed Judaism. Thank you for your kind words. I'm honored to be receiving this award tonight. And I want to congratulate the Men of Reformed Judaism as well. I understand that you recently received not one, but 2 awards at the National Convention, so congratulations to you as well. So Shabbat Shalom. Exactly 38 years ago today, my husband John and I were married. But I'm not going to talk about love tonight, because the Torah portion we read this week, Parashat Shoftim, from the book of Deuteronomy, has very little to say about love. But it has a lot to say about justice, and that's what I'm going to talk about. And to talk about justice, I need to go back even further than my wedding. I need to go back to my college days, when I served on a jury for the very first time. It wasn't actually a real jury, and I wasn't deciding a real case. I was serving on a mock jury for the Yale Law School trial practice class. There were 3 trial practice classes at the school, and the same case with the same facts was being tried at the same time in 3 different classrooms by 3 different sets of student lawyers and before 3 different mock juries. In 2 of the classrooms, the defendant was convicted. In the 3rd, he was acquitted. I walked away shaken by the experience as a juror, concluding that there is no justice given the different outcomes in the same case. I decided then that I could never be a lawyer. 7 years later, though, there I was. I did become a lawyer. By then, I had come to accept the pervasive role of the legal system in our society, and I wanted to understand from the inside how things work and why. And for the next 3+ decades, I worked as a lawyer, defending companies and individuals accused of misconduct, litigating estate disputes, handling internal investigations, and all kinds of civil and criminal cases. Through pro bono work, I challenged housing discrimination, sought asylum for people fleeing persecution, and helped prevent the shutdown of one of the last independent newspapers in Russia. The work was interesting, the cases challenging, and my career was satisfying and rewarding. But did I pursue justice, as Moses commands the Israelites to do in this week's Torah portion? I go back and forth on the answer to this question, even now. And I think the answer is, in some cases, yes, in others, no, and maybe it depends on how we define justice. So let's take a look at what Moses tells the people about justice in Shoftim. To set the stage, Moses and the Israelites have fled from Egypt and finished their wanderings in the desert. They stand at the shores of the Jordan River, looking out over the promised land, where Moses delivers a series of speeches to the people. In Shoftim, which literally means judges, Moses instructs the Israelites how to create a system of justice based on the rule of law. He offers a blueprint for civil society that they can take with them when they enter into the land of Canaan. Some of Moses' instructions are practical, and they echo in our legal system today. But some of Moses' instructions are aspirational, more in the nature of ideal than reality. In terms of the practical scaffolding, Moses tells the people, "You shall set up judges and law enforcement officials in all your cities, and they shall judge the people with righteous justice." And we too have judges and law enforcement officials in our cities who serve as judges. Moses continues, "You shall not pervert justice, you shall not show favoritism, and you shall not take a bribe, for bribery blinds the eyes of the wise and perverts just words." Again, fairness is a bedrock of our legal system, and bribery most everywhere is a crime. Moses continues, "You shall investigate wrongdoing and mete out punishment, but no one shall be put to death by the word of only one witness." Even today, we recognize that evidence from multiple sources and testimony from multiple witnesses are more reliable than the word of a single witness, which may be distorted. Finally, Moses instructs, in the hardest cases, where the arguments on both sides are strong, where one judge can't decide between them, the matter is to be brought to the Kohanim, the high priests, and they will decide the case and the punishment. In a sense, Moses here is describing our system of appellate review by a panel of judges and our Supreme Court. So far, the legal system that Moses prescribes for the Israelites is familiar to us. It's to be fair and impartial, without favoritism or bias, and judges are to weigh competing arguments, seek out testimony from multiple witnesses, and the hardest cases are to be brought to a higher court to be decided by a panel of judges. But things get less familiar when we focus on Moses' command to judge with tzedek, with righteous justice. Tzedek, tzedek tirdof, he commands, justice, justice shall you pursue, that you may live and inherit the land that God is giving you. In talking about tzedek, righteous justice, Moses is talking about something more significant than a legal system scaffolding. He's talking about something bigger than what happens or doesn't happen day to day in individual courtrooms. In talking about tzedek, righteous justice, Moses is talking about an ideal of justice that's to be pursued always, but rarely can be realized. Rabbis have offered various interpretations of what Moses means by tzedek, righteous justice. They see it as an impossible to define combination of righteousness, fairness, integrity, holiness, compassion, and charity. This tzedek is a central focus of the book of Deuteronomy, where Moses recounts the Israelites' escape from Egypt and their journey through the desert and reminds them what is most important to their success and survival as a people. According to the rabbis, tzedek and all it embraces is to be the foundation not just of our legal system, but of our lives. Tzedek is to govern all our social institutions and all our interactions with other people, other creatures, and with the natural world. The Reform movement is sometimes criticized for its emphasis on justice, on social and economic justice, racial justice, climate justice, etc. But we see in this week's parashah that the Jewish pursuit of tzedek, of righteous justice, comes straight from the Bible. It's not a Reform movement creation, but a theological command placed by Moses at the very center of Deuteronomy to remain at the center of Jewish life. It's no wonder Moses repeated the word twice, instructing the people, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. The rabbis offer many theories why Moses repeated the word tzedek twice, beyond emphasizing its importance to our lives as Jews. One theory holds that the repetition reminds us that we are to pursue justice regardless of whether it leads to our personal gain or loss. Another holds that the repetition reminds us that the means, the pursuit of justice, and not just the ends, are important. A different interpretation is that the repetition reminds us that there are at least two sides to every argument, that sometimes both sides can be right, and that in these cases, compromise is necessary and the best alternative. Still, another interpretation is that the repetition reminds us that the pursuit of justice is an obligation for each of us as individuals. It's not just for judges to pursue justice. So too, the repetition reminds us to incorporate tzedek into both our words and our actions. And here's an interpretation that's especially timely now, as we've heard earlier tonight. We read Parashat Shoftim during the month of Elul, a time of introspection and reflection, just a few weeks before the high holidays, when we ask to be judged with compassion and we ask for forgiveness. Tzedek, tzedek reminds us to apply the same standards we seek for ourselves to our loved ones, to judge them with compassion and to grant them forgiveness as well. Each of us may create our own midrash about the reasons Moses repeated the word tzedek. What's important is that we continue to pursue tzedek, righteous justice, and make that pursuit central in our lives. Shabbat shalom.
Marcy, Yasher Koach, I just want to let you know, and the congregation know, that when we finally landed on the date that would allow you to be here to accept the Brotherhood Award, and we said, okay, August 18th, I whispered to myself, I really hope that it's Shoftim that week, because I knew that you could do justice to any portion, but you could do special justice to this portion for precisely the thing that I want to celebrate right now, which is that in the many years that we've known each other and the many years we've worked together in leadership of synagogue and Jewish community, one lesson that I have learned from you stands out for me, which is that if you want to lead, you have to walk the walk. And so you're the perfect person to talk about tzedek, tzedek tirdof, because this is really a walk that you continue to walk, the same way all of your Jewish commitments are more than just words. And so we thank you for your dedicated service to WRT. We thank you in the spirit of this award for your spirit beyond WRT, and it's especially meaningful for us who toil in the vineyard of Reform Judaism to know that a whole new generation of Jewish leaders will be brought up to teach Torah and live Torah and truly walk the walk, in part because of the commitments you've made to them. So, Yasher Koach, and congratulations. Thank you. It's also my nephew's bar mitzvah portion, which reminds me I'm going to call him and ask if he can do a command performance tomorrow at Shul. In seriousness, we will be studying Parshat Shoftim, and I expect every lawyer in our community, and I know there are hundreds of you who affiliate with WRT, will want to come to Torah study at 9 a.m. in the Sifriyah to pray a little bit and to go deeper into the waters of Torah and Parshat Shoftim. We're going to do a kind of tzedek, a kind of act of justice, which is performed on behalf of our dedication to the principle that all are included, even or even especially those who cannot be seen. And so you can think of people outside of this room who are unable to be part of our synagogue community night tonight because of illness, because they lack the spiritual strength, because they are immunocompromised and can't be in a room full of people. We're going to pray for healing. If you would like to share the name aloud of somebody you care about for this prayer of Misha Berach, you can stand and offer names now, or you can remain seated and quietly offer those names within. my folder, I shall pursue. I left it on the front seat. Our community tonight has a number of people for whom we are praying, and we name them. Binyamin Ben Reuven, Jennifer Leventhal, Jeff Millman, Malka Gila Batdina, Emerson Lorenzoni, Louise Schulman, Tova Bat Esther, Robin Weitz, Stephen Gilberg, Yochanan Ben Zipporah, Judy Balsam, Ilana Bat Shmuel, Chaya Fega Bat Leah, Leah Bat Nina Bat Binyamin, Rachel Brocha, Matthew Atwood, Anthony and Elizabeth Dankner, Debbie Kapnick, Andrew Goldstein, Chava Bat Sarah, Eliyahu Chaim Ben Fredel, Sheila Fried, Malka Tzipora Bas Rachel, Tamar Bat Malka, Debbie Greenfield, Ina Goodman, Leonore Galen Mendelson, Jenny Kaufman, Sophia Schenkler, Pradeep Ramamurti, Zachary Morant, Yitzchak Ben Sarah, and Heschel Meir Ben David Achana. Page 374. And let us say Amen.
Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Amen.
Page 586, we rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, lateit gedula leoter bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
This moment we dedicate to our loved ones who died at this time of year, in years gone by, and those taken from our midst in recent days. As we remember them, we continue to feel their love and accept the wisdom that guides us. In our community, it's our custom to rise in the following order as we remember. Will those who are within the first 7 days of remembering a loved one please rise? And if you are within 30 days of remembrance for a loved one, would you please rise? Those who are within a first year of having laid to rest your loved one, please rise. And if you are observing a yahrzeit tonight, would you please rise? Zecher Tzadik Livracha, to all who mourn, we affirm that the memory of the righteous is an everlasting blessing. We ask the entire congregation to stand with you in sympathy, in fellowship, and in love. As we remember those taken from our extended WRT family and community in the last 4 weeks, we recall Jerry Freundlich, husband of Barbara and father of David and Laura, grandfather of Emma and Josh. Howard Goldman, father of Wendy Simon. Henry Goodman, husband of Joan Goodman, mother of Debbie Glassman and Peter Goodman. Phyllis Levy, wife of Joel Levy, mother of Joanne Citron and Dan Levy, and grandmother of Rabbi Leah Citron. Elaine Lee Nowak, mother of Robin Rosenberg. Judith Green, mother of Karen Green, and Barry Chaikin, cousin of Michelle Smith. And those whose Yortzeiten we commemorate on this Shabbat: Ida Bender, Lou Berlin, Bernard Burns, Dorothy Blau, Zelig Blumberg, Abraham Borer, Vivian Braun, Marion Bronson, Roy Carter, Neil Citron, William Clarvett, Kenneth Corlin, Sylvia Zief, Gustav A. De Lemos, Michael Disick, Louis Freed, Alexander Glassman, Seidel Grossman, Melvin Halleckman, Ludwig Jacob, Charlotte Josselson, Harold Callan, Victor Kassow, Louis Levin, Gertrude Lyons, Martin Mannheimer, Irving Markowitz, Morgan Miller, Flora Nessim, Edith Mandel Oaks, Austin Strauss, Benjamin Paulin, Nathan Pessin, Milton Pollack, Judith Potak, Rabbi Jerry Potak, Abraham Pritch, Charles Ray, Lee Older Rothbart, Bernard Seiler, Eleanor Silverman, Justine Sipser, Alice Summergrade, Sanford Tamarin, Rabbi Daniel Treiser, Robert Weinberger, Robert Weiss, and Lillian Ziff. If you have names to add to our commemoration, or if I've inadvertently mispronounced the loved one's name, kindly offer your names at this time. Tihi zichronam baruch, may their memories abide for blessing, as we bless the name of the author of life, with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol be'Yisrael, ba'agalau v'izman karri v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam olam me'almaya, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav hu yasei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Ose shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
On behalf of the leadership, clergy, lay, and professional at WRT, I'm going to offer a few brief announcements, especially on behalf of our temple president, Warren Haber, who is traveling and who extends to his successor, Marcy R. Harris, his warmest congratulations and yashar koach on your remarks tonight and your receiving the MRJ WRT Brotherhood Award. We also want to express our appreciation to Helene Lorinsky, who greeted us warmly as we entered the sanctuary. Again, a reminder that Torah study takes place tomorrow and every Shabbat morning at WRT and also live over Zoom. It is interactive. You can come and pray a little bit for about a half-hour minyan. Only in person do you get bagels at Westchester Reformed Temple, and then we study the weekly Parsha. We look forward to having you join us in the Sifriya tomorrow at 9. We also invite the entire congregational community, including friends, neighbors, loved ones, to worship with Greater Centennial AME Zion Church and your fellow WRT congregants on Sunday morning, August 20th, this coming Sunday at 9:30 for their morning worship. I will be delivering a sermon from the pulpit entitled Why Democracy Matters, and I intend to enlighten the community of Greater Centennial with the sound of the shofar. So I'm looking forward to blasting them out of their seats. And if that doesn't do it, the sound of their absolutely incredible mass gospel choir certainly will. So come and prepare to be up in your seats dancing. We continue our Elul study of Talmud. Cantor Kleiman and I are delighted to team teach a preparatory session for the high holidays, a few sessions actually. So we're going to resume our study this coming Thursday and for the following Thursdays, just before the high holidays, 3 sessions on the Talmud's approach to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. That takes place Thursday mornings at 10:15 over Zoom. You can register on the temple website. Speaking of things you can do on the temple website, we invite everyone who has not yet renewed your membership and applied for your high holiday entrance cards to do so via the temple website. We look forward to welcoming you back in health and in joy as the new year approaches. That's what I've got. We're going to conclude our service together by standing and singing Shalom Aleichem.
Page 142.
142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techilah למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכהנים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. And of course, after we break bread here on the Bima, please join us out in the lobby for a wonderful Oneg Shabbat. Meet somebody you haven't yet met. Meet somebody whose name you don't know. Wish one another Shabbat Shalom, and let us give thanks together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המוציא לחם מן הארץ.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, B'Te'avon.